Hello and welcome to the Enterprise Suite Supplier module demonstration. Okay, the first screen that you can actually see when you get into the program, is a workflow menu. So you can actually kind of click on new requisition or new goods received, or you can go find supplier just by clicking on the button, basically. Okay, or you can use obviously your menu. So down the left hand side here you've got new, like new supplier, new purchase order, new goods received, and find. And obviously you can click on find supplier here, and that gives you the same list that's coming up on the right hand side. You've also got a tool section. Okay, we've got payment control. We've got things like creditor list, supplier payment runs. So you can create a run and then amend it and then process it. And things like creating dropship special orders, auto purchase order routine, confirm your interest analysis, and obviously setup, which we'll come back to. Okay, alright, so the first thing is obviously find supplier. Let's open up a supplier that we've actually got. Supplier form is exactly the same as the customer form. In reality, you've got the name and address of the supplier. Custom field section, where you can put whatever custom fields you want onto here. A recent history, we've got the kind of what bills and purchase orders have been going on. Trading information, like what do we owe them, what's actually outstanding on purchase order, if we had a credit limit, and obviously available credit, because obviously that's the total less the limit, and what our turnover figures are. We also have an account number up here. So obviously most suppliers have an account, our account number. So that's obviously there for being able to quote it. You've got a contact section, so you can have as many contacts of that supplier as you want. You've got notes, activities, emails in and out. Emails out from a purchase order point of view if you're going to use the POP3, but if you use the Exchange plugin, then obviously it's everything going back and forth to that supplier if you want to. And attach documents. So if we look at notes again, I create a new note. This could be for whatever kind of information you want to hold, basically. So I don't know, just something that I need to offered me special price or whatever. And some details in here, and say save and close. And that'll be a note. Obviously I can look at those whenever I want to. Activities, these are the things like meetings, calls, callbacks, which obviously we've gone through in a lot more detail in the CRM module. But to give you an idea, we can go create a new activity, and let's say it's I need to make a call back to them, or we had a conversation, about pricing, and basically I need to call them back, in a week's time. So what I'll do is that I'll make a note of the call, and effectively it'll say I'll call them back in a week's time to follow up on that. So it creates a call which is completed. It's now create a call back with the same details. And if you look here now, you can see I've done a call to them about pricing. I've got a call back about it. Okay, on the top here we've got a setup tab. Okay, so what currency do we trade in with the supplier? What's our payment terms with them? What's our usual tax code? And shipping method. Obviously you can change these, but these are the defaults. What's our main warehouse? So for example, if we are ordering stuff for a particular warehouse, and this supplier's very close, so we've got a London warehouse and a Manchester warehouse, for example. When we're ordering, obviously it'd be easier for our London warehouse to be ordering for suppliers that supply our London warehouse. Say on carriage maybe, but obviously you can order from any warehouse, from any supplier to any warehouse effectively, but that's the default one. We've got a credit limit with them. Source, where do they come from? Payment group. Okay, so you can make these up, and effectively you decide what kind of whether it's a check or check and remittance, or just remittance, or a remittance and a bank file. And here obviously you put the bank details in, and what reference they actually want to go on the actual payment. We also have a factor company here. So if they factor their debt and we pay the factor company, then what you do is you'd actually pick the factor company, and then when obviously you do the payment run or whatever, it would actually put the bank details of the factor company and not obviously them. Okay, so we've got a default contact, yeah, and we've also got an accounts contact, yeah, for the actual supplier. So I presume someone we order from, yeah, and someone we actually kind of deal with when we're paying, and effectively landed cost percentage. Okay, so this is all about when we buy off this particular supplier. This is a UK supplier, so we probably wouldn't use landed cost percentage on that. But let's say we're ordering from someone in France or China, yeah, we'd actually kind of add a percentage. So you could say like 14% or whatever. And if you use the landed cost plugin, yeah, then effectively it will uplift the actual cost price, yeah, and you could have an average or standard average inflated cost price, yeah, to work from a profit point of view. I'll come back to landed costs in a bit when we do a GRN. Okay, the contact. Okay, effectively, when you look at a contact, the notes, activities, emails, and documents are to do with just that contact. Yeah, the general tab is about every contact, all the notes across all contacts and activities. Okay, so products. Okay, so what we put in here are products that we order specifically off this supplier. So obviously I put handguns in here, yeah, and I've actually put a cost price. And if I wanted to, yeah, I can actually go down to the unit of measure, yeah, and put quantity breaks on that unit of measure with special pricing. And I can do that for each type of unit of measure. So, for example, cases are 50, so I might have quantity break. If I buy 10 cases, yeah, I get a special price. If there's nothing in there, then obviously when I'm buying each cases or dozens, it would use the each costing. Yeah, so 10 cases at 50 a case is 500. So if you had 500, as a quantity break in here, it would take the each price in the absence of a case price. So we can do supplier pricing. There is an option to actually do it by warehouse as well in the preferences. So if you wanted to, you could say, well, I want to order off this supplier handguns for my London warehouse, but for my Manchester warehouse I'll use a different supplier. Yeah, or what I'm saying here is across all warehouses I just want to use this supplier for buying these items. Yeah. Or multiple items, and you've got a supplier part code, so you can put their part code in and their description, and when you do that, when you do a purchase order, it shows our stock code and our description, but underneath in brackets it actually shows their part code and description as well. We've also got a lead time, yeah, so how many days does it usually take to get here, whatever it is, yeah, and usual order quantity, yeah, so when we buy them, how many do we usually order? Okay. Alright, so we've got an analysis tab. Basically what have they been kind of trading with us, what's our turnover with them. Obviously we drill down on the actual transactions. Our transactions tab here gives us all the requisitions, all purchase orders, all goods received, outstanding. Obviously you've got an open and closed tab pull down here, and obviously you've got a ledger. Yeah, so a ledger actually includes all the actual transactions. Okay, so obviously I've got open balance transactions there, but you can see I've got a bill transaction here, yeah, with a date, a due date, what was the reference on it, if there was one, was it linked to a GRN, how much is it in the currency of the supplier and our base currency, how much is outstanding in the supplier currency and how much is outstanding in base currency, any settlement discount taken, are there any attachments, is this bill on hold, if there is on hold, what's the reason, yeah, so you can actually see everything to do that's outstanding from that supplier point of view. Obviously you can see it all go by the history, and obviously you can drill down on any of these, yeah, where you see I kind of hyperlink that and actually bring the actual bill up. Okay. Recent purchases, obviously this is kind of what's been received. Okay, so I've got to put a date range in, hang on a second, our sale dates, and go, okay, Alright, so here what I can see is what I've been buying, yeah, from the actual supplier, based on a date range or and what's outstanding and what's not outstanding, or all. So here I can see that I've been buying handguns, yeah, £10 each, yeah. I also noticed that I've been raising some debit notes as well. So for as many bills as I've been raising debit notes as well. Debit notes are not supplier credit notes as such. What they are is they're queries with the supplier, yeah, to say you overbilled me, or you overcharged me. So basically, I'm looking for a credit note to match up my debit note. I'll come back to that when we process a bill. Okay, age credit. So these are things like everything we owe them. Yeah, and we can do that by supplier currency or home currency, and we can do it by due date or document date, and we can actually space it by kind of 7, 14, 28, 30 days or whatever. And I can sort by the biggest, oldest column and sort of see, okay, we owe all this. I can see that, okay, so just gives me a kind of, a credit kind of tab, yeah, on what we actually owe them and what's due when. Okay, so that's a supplier account. You can print off a profile if you want. So let's go to creating a new supplier. Alright, so we've seen finding a supplier there. Let's actually create a new supplier. We get a wizard up like the customer module. So I'll just say a new supplier. Oops. And who's the contact there? I'll just say Mr. Alan Partridge. Okay. And here's an address. Okay, the city, the country, county, the postcode. The format of this address changes. So if it's the United States, for example, you can see that it changes to city, state, and postcode. And if I type the postcode in, yeah, then obviously it'll type in the city and state and postcode from the database. Okay, telephone number, the fax number, email address, website. We've got class templates for suppliers as well, so we can default in based on the country. Okay, so I'll just say next. Any contact details with different, like mobile or different phone numbers for the actual contact. And that creates a supplier record. So it's as simple as that. Okay. Okay, so next thing on the list is a purchase requisition. Okay, a purchase requisition is about people that want to raise purchase orders, but they're not allowed to. Yeah, and they need authorization before it's converted to a purchase order. So we'll just create one. We can see, okay, whatever reference. I'll just put my name or whatever, but it puts my name on it anyway. I'll just say in here, I really want these. So if someone's going to authorize it, they can see my note. I can put in stock items. Yeah, I can put in text items. Yeah, so say 2 of these. I don't know, service or whatever. And they're £100 each. Yeah. Again, even on stock items, you can change the description as well. Okay, so that's my kind of purchase order. So my requisition. Yeah, obviously from that supplier. Yeah, and obviously to our main warehouse, which I could obviously change. I've got some other things in here. What's the status? What's the due date? So I've got an overall due date, and on the item line, I've actually got a due date for each item line as well. And I've also got a revised due date on the item line. It's automatically put the tax code in based on the supplier. It's automatically put the stock code based on the stock item. Obviously, it's a free text item. Whichever one, I can pick a different one. It's got item line numbers as well. Okay, so I can print that, yeah, or I can just leave it, yeah. And at some point, someone who authorizes requisitions can see all the open requisitions here and open them up. Or when I'm actually doing a new purchase order, I can see the available requisitions in the list. Okay, so let's just open the requisition again, which is number 4. Okay, and someone's obviously able to authorize this and say, right, convert to order, and it's as simple as just click the button, yeah, and there you go. It's now a purchase order. Okay, so it's as simple as convert the order, yeah, and once you've done that, that's it, it's done. Okay, So if I look at my purchase orders now, I can see, sorry, purchase orders, I can see that number 17 here, yeah, is my converted requisition. And you can see that the source document, it came from the requisition. Okay, and then obviously from there you can do whatever you want to do, print it or whatever. Okay, so that's a requisition and dealing with requisitions. Let's actually do a normal purchase order now. So I create a purchase order, I pick on my supplier. So what I do, I'll pick on my existing one I already know about, my UK supplier. Okay, a reference if there is one. Sometimes your supplier, if you're ordering over the phone or whatever, will give you a reference. Okay, so here's the items. I'll pick on a few items. I'll say 10 of those, 10 of those, and I'll also put in a service item as well. So I have 10 of these, which is free text. Okay, and I will say that these are £10 each. Okay, so from here I can print it. So I can print them individually. Yeah, I'll print preview it, but I can email it, fax it, or lowest cost route it. So I'm just going to print preview it so you can see it. Obviously it puts your name and logo on, the supplier name and address, and our warehouse address, terms or whatever, that can be obviously emailed as it is to the supplier. Another way of doing it is you can just save and close your purchase order, and then someone can go into batch printing at some point. Yeah, print purchase orders. There's all the outstanding purchase orders not been printed. Yeah, you just go select all, say OK, yeah, and email them all off, or lowest cost route them all off. Okay, so just go back to my purchase order I've got outstanding here. Alright, so normally what would happen is you just close this, yeah, and then you'd kind of go into goods received and then bill. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this through from the form point of view, and then we'll do another one which actually kind of does it more probably like real life. Alright, so in here I've got a receive items button. So I'm going to receive the items. By the way, you can also duplicate a purchase order, and also you can void a purchase order as well. Okay, so let's receive the items. So I say, do you want to see the items of the purchase order? Yep. Okay, so here's my now GRN. Okay, I'm going to say, well, I've received 5 of those. Okay, and the question it'll ask me, yeah, is that the quantity is actually less than the outstanding quantity on the purchase order. Do you want to write the difference off, or do you want to keep it outstanding? Okay, so essentially, if you wanted to keep the, if you expect the next 5 to come in, yeah, then you'd obviously keep it as outstanding. But if it's a kind of supplier that delivers and then, if they're short, if they're too short, if it's 100 and they're too short, they're probably not likely to deliver the 2. Yeah, so then obviously you can just write off the 2. But if they're, if it's kind of like they've delivered 50 of the 100 or whatever, or 5 of the 10, like here, yeah, then they're more likely to deliver the other 5 at some point. Okay. So what have we got here? So I'll just say I've had 10 of those. I've had 10 of those. And if I say save, okay, what it does, it creates a goods received record. Yeah, it creates a journal. Okay, so behind the scenes, it's done an accrual for us. So it's put them into stock. Yeah, and it's obviously put an amount against the for the non-stock item here. So for the 2 stock items, it's put an amount into stock. And what it's also done is it's put an amount into accrued creditors for us. Okay, so there's the 2 stock items there. Yeah, one's for 1300, one's for 75, and the other one's for 100. Yeah, and you can obviously see on the description here it's pretty descriptive. So you can see that that's for the 17-inch monitor, 10 at 130, 5 of those wheels at £15 each, and obviously 10 at the non-stock item. Okay. When the bill goes on, the actual accrual is reversed. Yeah. You can amend this GRN. So as long as you've not sold the stock you just booked in, yeah, then obviously you can amend it. Yeah. And the next thing obviously is receive the bill. So at some point the actual bill comes in from the supplier. So if we click on receive the bill, yes, I wish to view it. So here I've got the invoice date of the supplier, yeah, what their invoice reference is, Okay, I'll just put something reasonable in there. Whatever. Um, if the reference was already in the system. Okay, so we'll just go to the supplier detail quickly and quickly look for a reference that's already there. If I got 1, 2, 3, 4, there you go. Okay, let's get rid of that. So if I put 1, 2, 3, 4 in here, it'll tell me I've already had this bill from the supplier. Yeah, so what it's doing is it's prompting me to kind of say, you're going to put this on twice. Yeah, so it just stops you doing that kind of thing. Yeah, if you obviously if you make that mistake. The amount. So this is the net amount at the bottom and the tax amount. Okay. So what you do is you then reconcile to these values. Yeah, you can put this on hold. Yeah, so obviously it can't be paid, and obviously there's the reason it can be put on hold as well. Down here, let's just expand this out a little bit so you can see it. Here's our items. Here's the quantity we expect to get billed. We can confirm the quantity that we're going to get billed, just in case it's more or less. And here's the confirmed cost. All it's doing is just confirming all the actual detail on the item line. So here, if I put something like, well, they billed us £16. Yeah, okay, so that means obviously our total's going to be wrong. Yeah, and I'll just save this. Yeah, like that, so we can actually see it now. When I get something like that, I could just say save and close, done, process the bill, and away we go. Okay, or what I could do is I could raise a debit note. Okay, so if I do a purchase order and if I say I'm ordering 10 at £15 each, and I'm the kind of person that says, well, I'm paying for £15 each, yeah, then obviously I could raise a debit note, yeah, here and now. The problem in a lot of companies is that you can end up with a stack of bills, yeah, all with queries on them, yeah, that you can't put on, yeah, because or you can put them on, but you got to put them in query, yeah, because they've obviously got queries on them, yeah, or price queries on them. Okay, so what this allows you to do is process the bill, yeah, but also put on an entry, which is what we call a supplier debit note. Yeah, different from a supplier credit note. Yeah, because a supplier credit notes come from the supplier. A supplier debit note is something we've raised. Okay, so if I click on create debit note, okay, what it'll actually do is it'll pick up the item lines that are different. Either the quantity is different or the actual cost price is different. Well, more basically. Yeah, so obviously I can create a debit note, which I'm going to do. Okay, with the £5 on it, because obviously the difference was £1. It was 5 of us a quantity, yeah, and we put it on as £1 each. And if you look in the notes and description, you've got original cost 15, invoice cost 16, and you can print this off as well. You can print a debit note that you can actually email to the supplier to say, I'm expecting a credit note for this, yeah, for £5, and this is the reason why. Okay, so the great thing about that is that what it's done is, yeah, it's actually dealt with that. Yeah, I processed the bill. The bill's now on, and also I've raised a kind of debit note against it. So if I look at this, that's bill number 15. Look at my transactions, my ledger. If I go down to here, what you'll find is I've got a bill now, yeah, for that bill 15, yeah, for the whole amount, and then I've got a debit note on here for £5.86. Okay, so obviously this then allows you to get that off your desk, yeah, and when you do a payment run, you can take into account that debit note, yeah, at the same time, yeah, as you make the payment for that. So you're not behind on paying suppliers on invoices that got queries on them. Yeah, it's up to you. You can operate like normally, which is just put the bill on, put it in query, wait for the credit note to turn up, yeah, or you can actually create a debit note if you wanted to. Yeah, and that means that you can just kind of carry on processing and do your payment run, and it's up to the supplier to catch up then, rather than kind of the other way around. It also kind of puts you less likely to go on stop, and it also means that when if the supplier queries it, then you've got your transaction list there and exactly why there was a query on it. Okay, so that was a bill, kind of following it through, one by one from the form. But let's do another purchase order now, and what we'll do is we'll do this with a French supplier. Okay, so I'll just put it's a verbal order. Here's our items. I'm not bothered doing a free text one this time, and you can put your exchange rate in if you want. Yeah, it defaults to the system exchange rate. Obviously the values in euros, and I print it off. Yeah, so I say save and close. Then at some point the goods come in, so I go into new goods received. I've got my French supplier here, which is purchase order number 2017, 19. When you're obviously looking for your purchase order, put your goods received on, you want to hopefully they quoted your purchase order number, or they've quoted the reference that they've given you. Okay, so I'm just going to tick that one. I could tick multiple purchase orders, yeah, to do a GRN against, but I'll just keep it simple and pick one. Okay, yes, you're right. Yeah. You can pick multiple purchase orders for the same supplier to combine them to one GRN, but you can't pick across different suppliers. That's what it just warned me about. Okay, so here's our goods received note again. It's saying, okay, one of those and one of those. I didn't put any quantity on, so that's fine. Another thing on here is a landed cost tab. Okay, so if you want to do landed costs, yeah, then on the supplier record you can put the supplier the landed cost percentage in, and what you can do, yeah, is you can default in a percentage, obviously, which would come from the supplier record. Yeah, so I'm just going to put 10% in here. So 10%. Obviously the norm's around like 14-15%. I could enter specific values if I wanted to, like what's the freight, what's the duty, what's the insurance, and it will split it across the item lines by value or weight. Yeah, obviously, you know, the values are kind of normal. Yeah, but if it was weight, for example, it would look at the weight of these items and, you know, allocate out those costs by weight. But I think percentage seems to be the most popular. You could also have item-specific percentages as well, which means that, you know, for some items you might weight, some items might be very heavy, or they might take up a lot of space. Yeah, so you can weight them differently. Yeah, so instead of just saying 10% across each item, you might say, well, that item's 20%, that item's 5%, or whatever. Okay, so effectively what it's saying here is it's going to add £14.50, yeah, to the value. So 290 euros divided by 2. Okay, let's make this 300 to keep it easy. Okay, well, let's just do that at 270. Yeah, then my simple mind can work it out. Okay, so 300. Yeah, so what it's saying is divide by 2 for the exchange rate, which is £150. 10% of that is £15. That's the value it's going to add, yeah, to the values of these items. Okay, so I say this is fine. If I didn't fill that in, it would fill it in automatically for me if the supplier had that percentage defaulted in. And what landed costs basically does, yeah, is it expects the item to be a standard cost item, and what it does is it produces an inflated average standard cost. Yeah, so average cost is still your average cost, yeah, but the standard cost becomes that landed inflated average cost. So for example, on this item here, yeah, it'll put that in one at £15, because obviously it's divided by 2, and whatever the quantity is left in times the existing inflated average cost, yeah, and then obviously adding that one to it as well. So that's quite a very nice way of dealing with landed costs, and of all the different ways that I've seen it done, that one actually works quite well. If I look at my preferences in landed costs, I can see I want it to default to global percentage, I want it to default by item value, and obviously I want it on the GRN as opposed to the bill. So you can decide to do this on the GRN or the bill. Yeah, if you've got fast moving stock, then you probably want to do it on the GRN. Yeah, but that also depends on whether you actually put proper purchase order values on, or the actual value on the GRN is correct. If you don't actually kind of mop it up to the bill, then obviously you'd have to do it on the bill. So you can update the standard average inflated costs, yeah, at GRN or at bill. It's up to you. Okay, let's just go back to my my goods received. Okay, so I'm just going to say save and close. So and that's GRN number 14. And then at some point I get the bill in, so I go to new bill, and there's my one there. I can combine multiple GRNs for the same supplier onto a bill, so I'm just going to pick the one. Okay, and obviously this is the bill. So I'll just go 2345. That's what their invoice number is, and I'll just accept that as their bill. Yep, seems to be right. The tax code's right. The amounts are right. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so that's obviously a bill that does match. Okay, so there is obviously the opportunity to do a bill, yeah, not against a GRN, yeah, but just to a supplier. So this is things like electric bill, things that you're not going to raise a purchase order for and do a GRN for, basically. So if I just picked on this supplier, yeah, and whatever their invoice number is, yeah, and £100, let's say, it puts the VAT in for me. Now it's put the VAT in, yeah. I think my VAT rate's 17.5% in here. But if you notice, the terms are settlement discount terms, so it's 30 days from document date, 2% discount paid in 7 days, so it's working the VAT out on the discounted amount, which is obviously what we do in the UK. But obviously I can override this and say, oh no, it's £7.14. It's what's on their invoice. If that's on their invoice, that's what you've got to put on your invoice. Again, you can put it on hold or in query. You can decide on your nominal analysis. So maybe I kind of want to do this to, I don't know, electric. Yeah. Nice thing about it is you have to put the code in. You can just start typing the name, yeah, and it picks it. You can split this between multiple lines if you want to, multiple tax codes, and obviously I need to change this tax code amount, yeah, to match the top up there. And that's it. Okay, so that's a very simple putting a bill on. One thing I actually missed when we did the other thing is when you do the bill, remember the accrual we did? Yeah, well, when you look at the journal, you'll see that it reversed the accrual, so that all is reversing the original accrual, yeah, that was done. Yeah, and then this is the actual processing of the actual bill transaction. There's the VAT amounts, there's the actual stock control amounts, there's the service item, and there's the total for the creditors control. And you can see it's you've got a tax type, tax code, and obviously a big description on here. So the journals are well laid out. Okay, we've done batch printing a purchase order. Okay, let's just do a simple payment to a supplier now. Okay, so I'm going to pick on I'm not going to pick on that one. Sorry about that. I'm going to pick on my UK supplier here. Okay, I pick the bank account I'm going to pay it out of. The date, the reference, I'll just put direct debit or something. I'll put £100 in because I don't know quite what I owe them. Yeah, you get a bit of a detail here, but then I'm going to allocate it. So it posted the payment now for £100, and what I'm doing now is I'm kind of saying, right, okay, well, I notice I've got some debit notes to take here, yeah, or a credit note. Yeah, and a bit of a mess really. I've got some payments that were allocated as well, but I'll just keep it to the payment that I'm doing. Here's all the outstanding bills. These are dates on them, the reference, what the terms were, how much is actually outstanding, how much I want to allocate. So if I could tick on that one there, I can see that I'm allocating 100. Yeah, and you can overtype that if you want to. If there's any settlement discount, then obviously I could take it. If I allocate it, well, I've got to fully allocate it to take it, but and I can tick the box to take it as well. But on this one I can see it's just net 30. Yeah, so that's it. So if I save on that, yeah, it'll save that as a payment, and you can see the journal here on the actual payment itself. Say that £100 went off the creditors control and that went off the bank account. We'll do a foreign currency one as well, so you can see that to my French supplier. Okay, so again, I could pay them from my sterling bank account. If you pay a lot of euros out, yeah, then what you'd probably have is a euro bank account, and you'd pick your euro bank account there. But if you're just doing the odd one, it's just that you incur bank charges every time you do a payment from a sterling bank account to someone you want to pay euros. You'll end up with a bank charge of like 17 quid. So it's just not something you'd usually do. But I'll do this so I can show you the actual charges. Yeah, so if I type in here 100 euros, what I can do, yeah, is also putting that there was £17 bank charges, yeah, as well. Okay, so it's still 100 euros, but what it'll take out the bank is the 60 odd quid and whatever. Yeah, and I can actually change that as well if I want to and say, it's not £50, they took out £60. Yeah, so it'll change the exchange rate for me. Okay, so I'll say now allocate. Okay. Here's all my outstanding bills. So this is the most likely situation. You've probably got one payment on there, and then you want to allocate it against bills. Okay, so I'll allocate it against that one there, and you can see the £100 is allocated against it. There's an allocation difference, and I'll say save. What happens now is, because the exchange rate was different, I think, to the transaction. So the bill was on at one exchange rate, and the payment was on at another exchange rate. When we allocate the transactions together, that's when we actually get a loss or gain. So what I'm expecting in this journal is actual loss or gain posting for the actual loss or gain amount. Okay. The original transactions effectively keep their base value, yeah, in currency all the time, because obviously a payment for €100 is €100. The bill for €100 is 100. So they count. And you allocate them together. €100 against €100 is zero. So as far as the account's concerned, it's zero. But obviously behind the scenes, yeah, the payment took out, I don't know, £60 out of my bank account, but the actual bill when it went on was £50 against our, credit to control or whatever. Okay, so if we go and have a look at the actual bank account, we can actually see that there's our £60 going out, and there's our £17 bank charges. Okay. We've got an overall age creditor list, so you can see graphically what you owe. You can zoom it up, you can see it by due date or document date. You can change your columns to 7, 14 or 30. You can sort by biggest, oldest debt first. Obviously if you print it off, you get the actual debtors list sorted in whatever column or way you want it to be. Okay, so if I just do that, I'll sort it on this column here. I'll go print. What you'll get is you'll get a creditor list sorted by 120 days, one by due date, yeah, and the other one's a summary. Yeah, so you haven't got all the transactions, just the actual summary itself. Okay, so get rid of that. Okay, so now we're going to show our payment run, because I presume that sometimes you look at your credit, you'd look at your creditor list first. Okay, right. So create payment run. So from the want to pay people that pay in sterling as of this date. So only want transactions to appear that are due before that date there. Okay. It's just telling me that I've already got an existing payment run outstanding. Yeah, and I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, so here is our list of everything we owe. I wouldn't imagine yours would be so big, but hey, you just go through Supplier here. We own £4,500. Tick, tick, tick. Yeah, I'll take some credit notes as well, and I'll take those debit notes as well. Yeah, so the balance I'm going to pay them is £557. I'm going to pay Babs Cabs. I'm going to pay them. I'm going to pay them. Yeah, so it's only listing the ones that are due. Yeah, so in theory you should just go select all. Yeah, and the lot. But obviously it depends kind of who you want to pay, and effectively what your cash flow is like. Okay, so I'm just gonna tick a few more of these. Okay, Magic Computers, there you go. So I'll say next. I can print a report if I want to, yeah, but effectively now it's up to me to decide whether I'm going to pay those or not. Yeah, of course I can take the report and look at it, and then I can amend the payment run if I need to. Say, oh, okay, well, bit kind of low on cash flow, so we'll not pay that one. Yeah, and obviously that'll do. And then we actually go to process it. So the first thing here is check a remittance. Yeah, the next one is check only. Okay, I haven't got any people that I pay by check. E-banking, okay, none of them. Remittance and file. Okay, so you can see that the majority of people I pay by remittance and file. Well, 3 of them. So together you look at who do I owe money to, and then look at what do I want to pay them, and then what this is doing, this is splitting up now, how you pay them. Yeah, so remittance and file, for example, is producing a remittance note, and then just a file that you can obviously use for your back software or your bank software. So let's process this one, for example. I'm going to process payments. Yeah, it's telling me that it's going to generate these payments. Yeah, I want to generate the remittance file. Yeah, so I'll say yes. Yeah, do I want to view it? Yes, I do. And then that'll put the file format. in a format that I can use my bank. We've also been doing some reports as well based on a similar sort of thing, just so you can see. I'll load up Excel eventually. Okay, so that's the kind of bank account sort code, amount, and whatever details are needed for that file. Process and print. So now what I can do is I can do a supplier remittance, which is that one there, and I'll just say print preview, or I could email them off or lowest cost route them off. So I'll just say print. Okay, so there you go. There's all the items on there and a total at the bottom of why we paid them that amount of money. And I'll just say yes. Okay, so let me just go back to the check and remittance one. Yep, okay, we'll process that one. Now it's saying to me what's the starting check number. Yeah, so I'll just say go and get the next one, or type it in. Yeah, and I'll just say process and print. So I'm doing a standard check and remittance. So I print preview on it. Now you can see there's the remittance, and below is the actual check. Obviously it can be amended depending on how you print your checks and what they look like. Not so much the norm anymore, I must admit. Usually it's just remittance, nowadays, and a file for your bank. Yes, they printed correctly, and obviously on to the next one. And I can process the next one, whichever that might be. So that's quite a nice way of doing it. If you're doing big batches of payments, that's a great way to do it. Because it kind of, it organises it for you. The next thing I want to show is create and drop ship. Okay, so if we go to a sales order first. Okay, let's create a sales order. Okay, and let's just kind of put an item on here. I'll just put that item there, and I'll say it's drop ship. Okay, so obviously in the sales order I can actually create a drop ship here and now if I want to, but I'm not going to do that. What I want to do is I want to do the process them in a batch. So I'm going to say save and close. Okay, so save and close. And then I'm going to go back into my supplier and I'm going to process my create drop shipments in a batch. And what you'll notice is that sales order 274 for that 1 gig of RAM, it doesn't have a supplier on it, so I'm going to put a supplier on it. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that and that. Actually, I'll pick on a different supplier, it's got an address in it. Okay, and a ticket. Okay, and obviously I can override the price as well if I want to. So the whole point about dropship and batch processing is you tick the lot and you put all the suppliers on and you create drop shipments for them. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create it for that one line there. So you can just see that creating it from here is just dead easy. So it's created a drop ship. There it is. There's the customer name and address, and there's the supplier name and address. And obviously then you just print them off in a batch usually, and away you go. And receive the items however you want to receive them. Okay. Create special order. When you're actually in the sales order as well, what you can do. Okay, so I've got none, so I need to go and create a sales order for a special order item. I think that is a special order item. Let's just go and check. Okay, so I've been set up here. You can see that I've specified that this is a special order item. This is an item that, for example, you don't really want to stock because it might be very expensive or it might be very big. But you can get them quick. So you just want to order them to order. Okay, so for example, drop shipping is from the supplier directly to the customer, but special ordering is ordering them from the supplier to come into our warehouse and then go out again. But literally we are ordering them to order, because we don't really want to stock them, or they might not be very fast moving and we can get them quick anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so I can create the purchase order here and now in the actual sales order if I want to, or what we're actually looking at is in supplier, creating special order. Hang on a second. Okay, right, so I click on special order. Okay, it's saying no purchase order already created, doesn't need to create any. Why is that? Okay, let's go and have a quick look at the item. Okay, 2 gig of RAM. Okay, that's because we have enough stock. Okay, right, so let's just go and create a sales order. Yeah, again, for a special order item that has actually got more than the stock we've got. Okay. Okay, so it's doing what you expect, because basically what's actually happening here is that yes, it's a special order item, and I only order them for stock when I want to sell them. But if I've got stock, well, obviously I don't want to order any more. Yeah, so I'm just going to order do a sales order for 100. Yeah, and say save and close. Yeah, because I know that's more than the 89 in stock that I've got. And then when I come in here to do my special order, yeah, then it'll come up and say, right, you need to order these. Yeah, and you need to order 23 of them. Okay, because that's how many you need to fulfill your sales orders. Yeah, because obviously the special order items. Okay. Okay, next, auto generate purchase order routine. Okay, so I can use sales trends. So sales trends are over the last month, the last 12 months, whatever you want. It takes an average daily sales. How much do I want to store? Yeah, so I could just say 1 day, 0. I'd like to have 30 days worth of, or a month's stock in the warehouse. I can use reorder points. So obviously once I get to that reorder point, the usual reorder level, it'll prompt the reorder level. So my reorder point was 10. And obviously I'm down below that, then obviously it'll say whatever the reorder level is, order that many. Minimums and maximums. Yeah, obviously if it comes near the minimum, yeah, then it'll prompt you to order back up to the maximum. Okay, so let's just go into next. It says which warehouses are we ordering for, which suppliers do we want to use, yeah, and then it comes up with a list that says these are all the items that we need to order, yeah, to fulfill our sales orders. If you're working on just in time, brilliant, because you take your orders in the morning or whatever, then you look at this in the afternoon and say, right, this is what I need to order to fulfill my sales orders. Send all your purchase orders to your suppliers, and obviously the goods come in next day from your supplier, yeah, and obviously you process it, and then you go to the auto allocate routine in the customer module. So here's that 20 gig monitor. Okay, sorry, 20 inch Super VGA monitor. It's saying order 101. Okay, so let's have a look at why it's saying that. Okay, the sales trend is 1.1 a day. The potential stock is minus 69. So what that's effectively saying is I need 59 just to fulfill my sales orders. Yeah, so what it's saying is that's a total of 60. Yeah, my sales trend, yeah, is at 1. My lead time is 7 days. So I need 7 days worth just to kind of keep up with my sales trend. So order another 7.7, yeah, and I want to stock 30 days worth, so 30 days times my average sales, which is 33, and that's why it came up with the 100.8, and obviously it rounded it up to 101. Okay, and what you do is tick tick tick. Obviously you pick your supplier if it's not already there. It's defaulted in the main supplier for the item, and you say OK, and it'll create the purchase orders, yeah, across all the suppliers. A real time-saving kind of thing, and obviously you can change the quantity, yeah, to whatever you want. I can void a payment. I can do a supplier refund. Yeah, I can confirm intrastat analysis. So this is for people that we're actually trading with Europe. We actually do ours on goods received because it's a movement of goods. So on the sales side, it's invoice. Yeah, and on the purchase order side, it's not on the purchase order, it's actually on the GRN, confirmation that you've had the goods in. So if I look at these are 3 GRNs, so if I look at the detail of one of them, yeah, you can see that, you can see that here's all the item lines that were on there, the commodity code, if it's there, the type, delivery method, any supplemental units, the weight it's picked from the item already, yeah, so it's obviously gone the quantity times the weight or whatever, the tax code, the purchase order code, and I can change all the item lines by clicking that one there. Say with delivery, rather than have to change each one individually. If the commodity code's missing, I can type it in. I can change the details as I go, and that's it. So I say, yeah, okay, that's kind of like then that's through to my accounting. So obviously in accounting, that's where I'm actually going to do my intrastat and confirm it and create the file and upload it and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm doing here is I'm just confirming the details to save me some time later on. Okay, so what else we got? We got preferences. I'll just quickly go through those with you, and these are for things like same supplier across all warehouses. That was that thing about do I order from one supplier for my London warehouse and a different supplier for the same item for my Manchester warehouse? Do I want to filter items by supplier? So if I've set up that I order these 5 items from a supplier, yeah, then when I go into purchase order processing, if that's ticked, then I'll only be able to pick those 5 items. I guess it just saves you having to search through all the items and make sure that you do order specific items from specific suppliers. Things like bills, we can put them on hold, we can tick them and put a reason, but we can actually make them automatically go on hold if we wanted to. If we tick that box there and say anything over £100 or whatever, I want to go on hold automatically. And when we're writing off transactions in accounting, what's the maximum write-off I can do when we're allocating payments, and what's the default EC terms. Okay, we've also got a reports dashboard. Okay, so I'll go to reports, quite a lot of reports. So I pick on this one, a day book. I've got filter criteria for a date range, a period range, or whatever. I'll just say print preview, so you can actually see it. And what you get here is, the day book, the period code, the date, all that kind of stuff. That's the same for any of them. Okay, that's basically it for the supplier module. Obviously there are more things in here, but essentially that's the flavour of it. Thank you very much for watching.